Also, just to let you all know, I am recording this session so that if people miss it or people want it sent to them, that's fine. I can send it over to you. But if your cameras are all off, you keep your security and keep people from being able to see who you are and possibly your house, which isn't good. So this basic session to get my level 2 guys from over in Loughton who are here, give them a little introduction to short graduation and graduated shapes. If you guys have all seen my videos on YouTube, mine, Kaylee's and Darren Baines, you'll know mine are quite long. This ain't going to be as long today. Sort of a quick little session to basically hope that everybody can get a good insight to short grads, a basic insight to short grads, but also something where everything sits quite flat. So you'll know I'm quite hefty with shape and I love shape work with hair. So basically, when we're working with shapes, we're using over direction. So we're pulling things back to the front and pushes the hair back. So everything that comes from back to front will go towards the back. So I would say to people in my classes, if you know much about Towie, and the girls who all have their hair off their face and look lovely with it, they do a lot of blow drying and a lot of roller setting. If you want something naturally to be able to do that, just do a round shape. Just pull all of the hair forwards, lift it high with your elevation to create your weight, and the hair will push back off the face. Okay. Similarly with my triangular graduation, the graduate bob I did on my videos, where we basically stood here the whole time in the back. So worked our shape, worked everything back to here. It's just going to push all of that forwards. Okay. So if you think of shapes in your work in a sense of where you want the hair to fall and where you want the hair to sit, it can sit quite nicely. Also, hello to all my Wednesdays seem to be here now. So hello everybody. All the guys over in Camden as well, all my level 3s that I work with Tash, nice to see you. And the new level 2s from Chiswick seem to be online. So hello, nice to meet you all. Thanks for speaking to me yesterday. Those who didn't, I want to speak to you today. And yeah, let's get cracking. So short graduation is basically a build-up of weight where your external length is the shortest point and everything internally gets longer. Okay, you'll notice on this is my mannequin from when we first worked our asymmetric, so I'm lopsided at the minute. We're going to correct that, but because we've only got a few dolls at home, I'm not going to go too much shorter than this side. So as I said to my level 2s in Loughton today, don't go mad with your blocks, okay? Keep that shape a little bit longer so we can have a little bit more of a go. And you'll know that when we start in the head is the most important, crucial part. So I've sectioned off my top piece. We have a horse, it's probably better if I lower it down. You might be able to see it. Can you see that? Good. So we have a horseshoe section from our recession points. See it easier on my hair. So recession point, mid-recession, and that swings round on the roundness of her head into the back. So I personally like to run with a point, okay? You can work a full horseshoe, completely up to you. The reason I work a point is it's easier to get it symmetrical, but also it leaves a bit of weight in the back. And as I always mention about your danger zones, your main areas of concern are your crown area is a big danger zone, your nape area, and anything around the front hairline. Okay, and the reason these are dangerous is just how the hair kicks. And when you're doing your consultations and you're working through your discussions with your guests in salon, pay attention to these areas. If you've got a double crown, jumpy crown, triple crowns I've even seen, you're going to want to drop that point below your crown. Leave everything in the top section, isolate it, deal with it later. That's the best way to do it. I'm quite a conservative hairstylist, so I don't like dealing with things there and then. I like to see how it sits when it naturally falls. Okay? So if anyone has any questions throughout, unmute yourselves and ask some questions and then mute yourselves again. I know it sounds quite rude, but we've got to make sure everybody is able to stay on the call and stay on and hear what I'm saying. All right. So questions are open, but you'll have to unmute yourselves. So if you think I'm being rude, I'm not answering you, you're probably on mute. All right. So let's get going. I'm throwing a boys. So we're going to start in the back. Okay. And I'm going to work everything vertically. So the whole way around the head, I'm going to be vertical. Okay. And the reason for I don't want this hair moving anywhere. I want the hair to basically sit as flat as possible, build up this weight in the back, so still build a nice little bit of bounce and texture in there. But as you'll agree here, for a short look, that's quite a little bit too long up the top. So we're going to still be working with our graduation, but everything is going to be running through at this sort of part here. So everything's going to stay exactly the same elevation the whole way around. And I've dropped my comb. So you'll notice I've dropped my comb a lot, so do bear with me. So we're going to basically run our vertical line all the way around. Now, creating shape is where we use over direction, okay? Creating weight is where we use elevation. So we don't want to create any shape at all. We want the hair to be as flat as possible. So I'm not going to be over directing. I'm going to be having everything coming off the base of the head the whole way around. As soon as we over direct, we're pulling the hair away from its natural fall. So we're increasing length in areas of the head. I don't want that to happen. I want it to be all the same length, okay? And I'm going to twist so you can see, and we're going to start down the centre back. So it's quite a nice little haircut this to start off with your graduation. Then when we start to go into round graduation, flat graduation, that's quite an advanced little technique, which we're going to look to do next week, actually, all of my level 2s. So it's important that you guys do get your blocks out today and start working on those, okay? So first section is in the back, and I'm going to twist her so you can see my elevation, okay? So I'm going to stand directly behind. Body position is key. I don't want to make myself feel uncomfortable. I don't want to hurt my back or anything. So I want everything just to come out towards me the whole way. By doing that, I know that I'm basically going to be pulling the hair with no other direction with the way I'm moving. My guys in Camden, you will know we've worked on this quite heavily, where we basically move around the head when we're working with our round shape, which flows that weight really gently into the back and into the nape of the hair, okay? So I'm going to twist to see, so you can see my elevation on this. So my elevation is going to come out quite high. I want this to be quite soft, okay? So first section. All you right-handed people, you're going to be coming round the left-hand side underneath and the right-hand side over the top. It's more comfortable. If you find it more comfortable in here, be my guest. You've got to find your way to cut. You've got to find the way that works really well for you, okay? So first section, really clean, really nice and tidy, and keeping my attention really strong, okay? And if I move my big fingers out of the way, you will be able to see. Okay, cut myself. So we're now going to start to tuck our shape down into the nape, okay? So elevation stays high the whole way around. If I spin that around, you won't be able to see that. And start to tuck it quite tightly into the nape. And then when we assess where that first section falls, it sits quite nicely, okay? So now all we do is just move around the head, okay? So take our next section and push everything out of the way. And we can get rid of this half of this first one now because we've done that. We don't really need to be coming through and cutting that again. So everything we work is sort of about a comb's width of inside the whole way around. That way we know that we're not picking up hair that we don't really need from the other way, okay? So second section, I was in here, now I'm going to step into here, okay? And everything stays on the exact same elevation. So just below that 90-degree angle, because we don't want anything to be too heavy, and still keeping us just on the point between elevation and layering. Graduation and layering, sorry, with our elevation. So the reason we do that is something for later on. When we start to connect the top in, if our graduation was down here, like something we did with our graduate bob, I'm going to change the colours, get something a little bit more different to the hair. If our graduation was down here, like we did with our graduated bobs, you see the difference in length that we're coming into. The graduated bob will be too heavy to connect in with our layering up the top. So by the way we're working this shape a little bit rounder in here and having our elevation higher, means that when we connect something in here, there's less of a corner to deal with. Make sense? Good. Let's carry on. So third section, we're going to work vertically again and start to run this shape into the front. So now I'm going to get rid of these pieces here. And again, we're going to come in, step round again, and work this shape down. Same elevation the whole way around. Pick up your guide and cut away. And then again, start to tuck down a little bit slimmer. Perfect. And then start tucking in. Now, with your mannequins, all of you guys, you'll notice, or you will have noticed, the hair under here is quite distant from the ear. So when you're working your outlines later, don't be worried if there gets that big sort of hole in there. That's going to come. On a guest in salon or your models, things like that, it's going to be a much smaller gap, you'd imagine. Okay, sometimes I have a big gap between there, but you just got to deal with whatever you get given, really. If they do have a massive great gap, you know what it's going to look like because you've worked it on your mannequins. All right? So, quite simply, we move on again. So, this here is my shorter side. So, from where I was doing my asymmetric look the other week, this is quite heavy around that side. So, that's going to be a little bit difficult to keep my balance. But to be honest, I don't really have a tip for it. Just got to work it down and see if it works. Don't go mad short with it straight away, but you'll be able to get there in the end. So just take your time with it. Again, into here, tuck this shape down, and start to tuck it in into the nape, and we start to work it through. So now we're going to start to cross-check. So cross-checking is basically if you feel like you're getting a bit lost, and you think, oh, what am I doing? Stop, cross-check, check. Most of the time you will be doing it perfectly, okay? So it's just a nice way of basically confirming with yourself that actually this is looking really good, all right? So you cross-check away from your shape. So if we're working vertically, we're going to cross-check horizontally. If we're working diagonally facing forward, we'll cross-check diagonally facing backwards. And it is absolutely key that you cross-check to where you cut the hair. So I cut this piece out here, okay? I'm going to cross-check it into there. And then we see that, actually, I've got a little piece, so we're just going to cut that off. And we're going to cross-check again, and this has come a little bit higher up here. So we cross-check, and it sits nicely. And then we cross-check this higher piece, and it sits nicely, okay? If I were to get a bit lazy, and this top piece where I've cut quite high, I cross-check this right down here, it starts to get a little bit bitty. So then I come through and bing that off. And then once we're finished at the very, very end, we see our weight line will start to be a little bit choppy and a little bit bouncy. So important, cross-check to where you cut the hair. That is probably the biggest tip that I could possibly give any hairstylist, okay? So we're going to get moving because I know you guys all have a lot of stuff to do today. And it's sunny, so yesterday was pouring down rain, so I don't want you sitting indoors all day. So next section, exactly vertical again, and we're starting to work this forward. I hope you can all see this. Starting to work forward. I'm stepping around again, and everything off the base. So keeping our elevation the same, but 0 over direction, okay? So by over direction, I mean I would be pulling this hair back here somewhere to increase the length and increase the flow. If that was triangular, if it was round, I'd be pulling it towards the face, okay? Guys in Loughton, we've not been over that yet, so sort of gloss over that a little bit. Guys in Camden, that's what we do, so, you know, let's get cracking. And also, guys in Chiswick, we will go over this, so bear with me. All right, so, and also Loughton Tuesdays. I don't know who's on the call, so we'll do it. If we haven't done it, we'll do it. If we've done it, then you know what I'm doing, basically. So let's keep going. I'm going to tuck this shape down a little bit more into the nape, and we start to come around the ears, okay? So you can see the shape starting to fall. This sits quite nicely high in the back, so if I bring her in a little bit closer, you'll be able to see that it's got a nice bit of something going on. Still some length knocking about in here, but it starts to tuck up behind the ear now. So I want now this to all keep soft, okay? So you'll all know that my chosen outline is sharpness and strength. It's what I like, but we are going to do something with hopefully a bit of softness here. So all that is created by a little bit of elevation and keeping your shape a little bit softer and a little bit more textured. So if you want to come through with your pointing technique, start texturizing all of this down instead of club cutting, perfect. It's just going to add to your texture even more. To do that, you may want to change the way you're standing. So I'm going to change the way I'm standing just a little bit. Otherwise, you'll cut half your finger off. And come through, and we're just going to start pointing this shape down, okay? So the difference being it just adds a sort of jaggedy line into your overall line. Keeping our elevation still the same, but that tucks around about her ear. So the reason I'm not going too short is I quite like the way this sits in the front from what we did the last time. She's got, sounds strange, I know, but she's got cracking cheekbones, this doll. So I want to sort of give her, make her look as good as we can until we bone all her hair off. So I'm going to keep the length on my overall outline around somewhere on our cheekbones, okay? So if we come into the front, I'm going to change my standing. So I'm going to do that pointing again. So still with no over direction, and graduation's pointing into her neckline, okay? And just pointing off any weight. Last little piece in here. Lovely. So if we see the way that sits, still quite cute into her little, into her cheekbone area, but still got a lot of softness running in that top bit, if we can see. Okay, if there's any questions, unmute yourselves, have a little word with me, mute yourselves, and if not, we're going to carry on. Okay, so now we're going to start back in the back section again. And this is where it gets quite boring watching. I do apologise. So if you just want to make a coffee, you're more than welcome. It gets exactly the same from here on around the other side. So if we've come from here and basically worked all the way around, and now we're coming back round this side, okay? So if she shoved her finger in the plug socket and her hair stood out on end, and you started looking at your expanded shape, that's exactly what you're going to see. So you have it tight in the base, higher into our top recession point, and then we deal with this top bit later, where we just want that to come through and have that three-dimensional shape, okay? So I'm going to try and rifle through this little piece. What's the time? 20 minutes already. Goodness me. I can see why my videos are always an hour long. So now we are going back to the centre back. Okay, and I'm going to change the way normally I'd come in here and start cutting around, over the top, isn't it? Yeah. So I'm going to change the way I cut. So we're going to come over the top and exactly the same elevation, no over direction, pick up our guide and take that away. Okay, and then start to tuck. Now, it could be sometimes quite easy to push our head slightly forwards. When you're in salon, I find that guests are always quite keen on hearing what you've got to say about their hair and hearing what you've got to do with their hair, if that makes sense. We also think that, hang on, I've got somebody asked something here. How do I open my chat? Don't worry about it. I don't know what I'm doing. So when I work with guests in salon, I don't normally say to them, oh, would you pop your head forwards for me, please? Or pop your head over to there. I just get on with it, do it. As long as you're not ramming her down, it's fine. She sort of wants you to be pushing her around, I think. Gentlemen as well, they quite like it when you just do it, and it looks like you're in control a little bit more. The whole confidence from a guest to stylist and between you both is basically just telling her what you think about her hair and telling her what she should be doing with her hair style-wise, and just doing stuff without asking. That sounds bad. You can't just put a fringe in if you don't want a fringe without asking. Don't take that the wrong way. But moving her head around a little bit, as long as you're gentle with her, they quite like it. I don't think they really mind. Okay, so now we're going to start coming round, picking up our guide. And this is where it's really important to be no over direction, exactly the same elevation as around the other side, but also moving your body around. Because my shape gets drastically longer in this right hand side, I need to ensure my body position is key. Otherwise my balance is going to be off, okay? And I'll be completely honest with you all. My balance possibly will be off here. So don't worry if it is. If you go back into your shape and you start cross-checking and you think, oh God, it's a little bit off, it doesn't matter. Go back into it. The most important thing is that you almost be a bit conservative around your second side. Because if you bing that in really tight, she's going to see it in the mirror first of all, and she's not going to be very pleased. Because chances are you've probably convinced her to go a little bit shorter and do like a choppy pixie cut or something like that. And if you have then backed one side off after she said this is short enough, you're in trouble because you've got to go back in there and take that shorter. Or try and find a way to hide it, which I don't recommend with your clients. Don't hide stuff that you possibly have taken too short. So we're going to step round, pick up our guide from underneath and take that away. And then step in again, just as we're tucking into the nape area here and making sure that tucks. So that's a really important area. My hair at the moment, I know we're in lockdown, but my hair at the moment, I don't know if you can see how baggy that is at the back in the nape. And the guy who cut it, I was watching him do it. I don't tell people I'm hairdresser because I don't want to make them nervous, but he was layering this down back here and didn't tuck it into the nape. So now I've got this big frayed bit down here and I can't go anywhere to get it fixed. So that's a really important area of somebody's hair to tuck that down into the nape. Because after 3, 4, 5 weeks, how long have we been in lockdown? 5 weeks. After this amount of time, it starts to get really bushy back here when the rest of it sits quite nicely. You may not agree my hair sits nicely, but hey ho. This bit here is so key. You've got to make sure that your work is tucked in there. And I guarantee you, the way the hair lasts, your guest is going to come back in to see you if you've tucked into that nape especially and say, this has been the best lasting haircut I've had. Okay, and that's what you want. That's really where you want to go. Okay, so now I'm stepping around again. Everything is coming towards my body and I'm going to pick up my guideline. Elevation stays the same, so I'm still just below that 90-degree angle. And now we start to tuck our shape down into the nape. Am I standing in the way here? No, you can still see, that's good. So we start to tuck a little bit tighter. Lovely. And just a quick cross check. A lazy cross check today, unfortunately. And start working in. So here, we're now going to basically start to come and take a lot off. This is where we balance our haircut off again. So heads up now. You can still have it forwards, but it's a little bit difficult to control. And then same elevation, nice tension. Find your guide, cut away. And then start to tuck this into there. And I've missed a piece. Lovely. So assess where we're going, sits quite nicely, and now I'm going to finish this quite fast in the front. So sections again, keep your work really neat and tidy. You all know that I'm quite funny on sectioning. I think sectioning is so crucial to basically make sure your roadmap is staying where you want it to go. I get a bit angry and a bit annoyed when I've got unneat sections and untidy work. By the end of it, my work, it looks terrible because I just get a bit lost. And if I've got sloppy sections, it means my work's going to be sloppy. So really make sure that your work is neat and tidy the whole way through. Your sections are so important to doing that. And it's not just in cutting as well. In colour, I know that Mariana's on here. I think she is. she colour.
I'm still here.
Yeah, good. Nice.
Hello.
Colour expert in Camden, and her master. She will agree with me that sectioning for colour is so crucial. To have yourself nice and neat and tidy, and everything that you're doing, and even in cutting, she's fantastic at hair. She'll agree that keeping your work as neat and tidy is so crucial. So take whatever you can on board from different people, but always keep your work nice and neat. Okay. So quite happy with the way that sits. All right. So now I'm just going to come through and blow dry. Now, a lot of you know what tools I like to use, but I'm just going to finger dry this because it's soft, it's textured. I want something to be quite nice and movable, and I've got to be a bit quick. So bear with me 2 seconds. Literally just going to move the shape around.
Hi, Mariana.
So nice and gently, just work your shape in and get a nice little bit of finger drying going. And now, because everything's being worked vertically, we don't want to have the hair moving around really. So if it was a round shape, we'd use a brush, or a triangular shape, we'd use a little best brush. But we don't really need that today. Just something nice and neat and tidy. Also, the good thing with working on like a fixed part or something quite short graduation is your guest can do this at home. She can get there, give it a good old shape after washing her hair, and that's sweet. So that means that you ain't got to do something that's too heavy work for somebody at home. It all lasts quite nicely and sit quite well.
Oh, I like that.
So, again, if there's any questions, give me a shout and ask away. You will be on mute, so you'll have to unmute yourselves. But yeah, any questions, let me know. So we are going to now move on with our personalization. So this is going to be something that when you're in salons, always give yourself a bit of time to work your outlines. I like to do my bottom first, finish it and do the top. The top's quite quick. Okay, so if we have a little look, it's quite, I'm going to spin her and not the stand. I'm going to knock the thing over. It's quite heavy at the moment. Still got a bit of softness going on, a little bit of structure all in there, but I do want to take some weight out of this top piece. So the best way to do that is just quite a little soft, not really a technical pointing technique. So I'm going quite deep with it, but I'm not taking big sections and neat sections. I just want this to be quite choppy, really. So just very gently work that down. Mind your fingers. I don't know who will have plasters at home, so be careful. But mind your fingers is very important. And then I'm going to spin here and just start to tuck her in and texture through. And then last little piece in this front bit, just texturize it.
Robert?
Yo!
You hear me?
Yes.
So do you always dry the bottom section before you do the top, before you cut the top?
Personally, I do. It's not wrong if you don't. I find by doing the underneath, if there's anything wrong under here, or if, say for instance, my balance is off under here, as soon as I drop this top piece down, it's going to react differently. That's the only reason I do it. And I like to have the underneath sitting perfectly before I go onto the top. So it's not wrong if you were to go straight into the top, connect that down, and then blow dry the whole thing together. If you prefer that way, that's fine. I think this way just gives me personally more control. Okay? Sound good?
Yeah.
Perfect. So ignore this. This is the fringe from earlier. So I've just picked a bit off there, but that's the fringe. You'll see later. So now I'm just going to come through very gently and just work on my outline. So I'm just pointing something in, pointing this shape down, and I want to take a bit of weight off that front bit just to open up our eye socket here. Move that out of the way. So just opens up our eye socket, gives us that nice little bit of softness running front. Okay. If I move her closer, we just see we just take bits and little outlines in here. All right. So into the back, keeps that texture and all of that softness running in the top, but then we just want to start cleaning this through and tucking that in. So if you're working something soft, don't go mad with your outlines. I've still got my point in there from last time as well. So let's do something about that. Lift that off. And quite a bit of a hack away at it really, and just see how the hair sits. You'll find that when you're doing your consultation, the most important area to check is this nape area. Being a big danger zone like your crown, if she's got a jumpy bit in here, I'd stay away from going so short. The way you're not going to be able to blow dry that in straight to be able to get that nice and textured. So almost leave a little bit of length in there and just deal with it later. Leave some length and deal with it later. All right. So coming into the top, as I mentioned, on your blocks, you're going to have this little piece here, but ignore that. On a client, that softness will come around. And here in the front, it's quite nice to open this up. So you'll see this side, we've got that quite nice and open in the front. Opens up all of our cheekbone area and the eye socket area. It's a really beautiful area on somebody to influence and emphasize that piece. Here it sort of sits in a little bit. So we almost want to just come through and take a bit of that length off in here. Just opens up that whole facial shape there. And it's also quite nice as well, because I've got a fringe knocking around in here, it's just going to soften that piece down and soften that little area in. So just opens up her face, opens up her eye socket area, and that, check my balance is right, sits quite well, okay? Perfect. So as we can see, our underneath is pretty much done. Just work that shape round. Nice bit of texture in the back. Still graduates in, so tucks in nicely in the nape area and then sort of stacks up. Now we are going to move onto the top. What's the time? Geez, 36 minutes. Sorry. Time did this quite fast. So the top, there's many ways to do so. We're going to do the nice little uniform layer today. So you're all aware of the uniform layer. You've all pretty much done that in all the groups that are on here today. So a uniform layer is basically a similar layer the whole way around. This is your closest thing you can get to being a one length on the hair. Okay, so if we're thinking of how the hair's sitting on the head and how much hair's left, if I drop that too low, thinking of how much hair is left on the head, and if the head's perfectly round, it's going to be one length if your haircut's perfectly round. Make sense? So we're going to be doing that today, and it's just going to connect everything through. There are many ways to work it, and I know my guys in Camden have been amazing. I've been learning from them. You know, they've basically been doing some really jazzy stuff in their top sections, even around the backs, that I think works fantastically well. So I've actually been stealing some of those ideas and doing them myself. So thank you, guys. So we are basically going to work horizontally the whole way through, all the way from back to front. Can you see that? All the way from back to front. And I'll show you a nice way to connect this back piece as well. If you take your back section in this top bit and connect it with the top of your bottom section, just bear with me, you're going to be in a world of trouble. Okay, so if you can see, that's my top section there, and this is the bottom bit from my top bit from my bottom section. If I just pick all this up and connect this there, where my guide is, I don't know if you can see, I'm going to bring it quite close. If you can see that, yeah, there's my guide, but that's connecting with my bottom bit. But look how short we're going in that top piece, okay? You're going to be a world of trouble, okay? As soon as you drop that, you're going to get your weight line sitting nicely, but this is going to bing high, and then you're going to have to give her something like a French crop on the top, and this beautiful shape in the bottom, which is not going to go down well. She'll have nice spiky hair and a beautiful shape on the bottom. So one way to do that is be conservative. This is your second danger area, your third danger area, okay? So ignore the bottom, get rid of that, and create your top, okay? See where you want that to sit. That's quite long now, okay? But I'm gonna take that down. I'm being conservative, which is the most important thing to do, okay? And then, once we're happy with the way that sits, we can now see that that length is actually pretty good to where we need to be. It still falls over a bit. Exactly, Val. Good man. So now we're going to literally pull that length up, and there's our corner, okay? And we're going to point that shape down, okay? So that way, I guarantee you that if you have a jumpy crown, double crown, triple crown, this will control it, I promise you. The way to control any form of jumpiness is leaving length. The more length you leave, the more heavy that hair can sit, and the more texture you can create, and the better it will fall. Unfortunately, these blocks don't really have jumpiness to their crowns and stuff. So you've got to sort of plan it a little bit and try and imagine there is something in there. But that's a nice way to work it. Ignore your connection, connect it on your roundness, okay? And now we're just working everything forwards. So I'm going to lift up, pick up my guide, and flow my shape in nice and square. And then each time I'm going to connect with my roundness. So I'm going to go high, connect, connect, high, connect, connect, all the way forwards, okay? That way it connects in with the sides. Now you can do this point cutting, or you can do it club cutting, completely up to you. Normally I club cut the middle and then point cut the sides, just gives it a nice little bit of diversity to the connection. And next section forwards, keep your sections clean, and again, lift high, find your guide, get rid, and then move that shape into the sides. Lift up, find your guide from the bottom and your shortest point, and your guide from the top, and just point that down. And again here, lift high and point that shape down. Ooh. And then last little section, I'm probably going to do it all in one side. Lift that high again and get rid of this. So now we are all connected. The top connects with the bottom connects with the top. There's no corners running through. So if she got electrocuted and her expanded shape sat, it would come high and then round and then back into that shape again. So there's no weight or no heaviness. If someone ever comes in, I say to every group I work with that, say I buggered somebody's hair up and you needed to find out, they said, look, fix it, oh, he's left it too heavy, or this bit's too heavy here. You've got to find what I've done wrong, or find what I've not lifted high enough or elevated enough. So basically, all you're going to be doing is finding a corner in the hair. Your corners are your weight. So say I leave a corner in here, that's going to get too heavy. Say I left the corner back here where Val said earlier on how we take that shape down. If I left that corner, that's going to fall too heavy once it grows through. So if she come in and said, the back's just messing about, I can't do nothing with it, you know full well, if you look at it as an expanded shape in a 3D form, there's going to be a corner in there somewhere. So you could go for a 30-minute haircut, really dusting something. If you think it looks okay, then correct this bit, and she can think, God, I'm never going anywhere else again. That person there knows how to do hair. So I'm going to blow dry this top bit, so bear with me. You can either finger dry this. I think it's a bit too long for full finger drying, so I'm going to use my trusty 9-row vest brush. You can use a round brush or anything you like, okay? So give me 2 minutes, right? So we're just wrap drying, okay? And then just tucking that shape in. Sweet. So I'm going to texture this down, and then that should. Okay, so again, now we've texturized the underneath, so I literally just want to lift high, keep my elevation to where it was, and texturize all of this shape down so that it doesn't get so bulky when she starts to grow through, if we have left a bit of heaviness in there. Okay, so work that in. Nice thing about this, you haven't got to wear it in a parting or anything, so you can have her hair going one way, then going the other way. We all know when we go to bed at night, we don't know how our hair's going to look when we wake up. So if you get something that's quite versatile and a little bit easily to texturize around and move around her head, it's going to look good. But also when she's out in the wind, England's windy, so you know, you want to basically make sure she has something that can actually work and still look good when everyone else is getting blown all over the place. So tuck that in. I'm going to take a bit off this fringe area here. So this was quite a short little fringe for my asymmetric that was really strong. So trying to take weight out of that can sometimes be quite difficult. So I'm just going to lift forwards, and your corner's always going to be in here somewhere. Okay, so don't lift that too high, and you normally create a quite nice little texturized piece running off the top. And then I'm going to split that down into here. Just take a little panel out here. So with fringes, don't be scared of fringes, okay? Even though it's the front piece and it's the first bit the client sees and all of that, and it is quite a scary thing to say, well, why don't we have a fringe? If you feel confident enough that a fringe is going to work and someone's got the right face shape for it, go for it. Explain it to them, see how they think it's going to sit, and explain to them that they think this is actually going to look pretty good. If they don't agree with it, don't push it. Say it the next time, say it the next time. But as long as you're thinking of ideas and finding things that you can basically do with somebody, they're going to love it, okay? So, 1 second. I'm going to use a little bit of something just to style through. Very unprofessional getting out of the way. So I'm using a little bit of something called Texture Refine. It's an old product I used to use when I worked at Sassoon. Probably the best texturizing gum or texturizing putty you can find. It's really quite a nice little thing to use. But overall, the key is to build a bit of texture in this now and just show your guest what it can do and show her what the hairstyle is like. She can then go home and personalise it herself, or she can have a little play. Normally you'll see in salon, they go, ooh, like this, give it a little go themselves. But the key is to show off the texture that you've built, show the texture you've created, show the tuck in the underneath, and then basically ensure that she knows everything you've done in the haircut. So start explaining it through. When you get your mirror out, say to her, so we've tucked in the back, this is going to build this is going to push this weight away from this part of your head and open up the front area, open up your eye socket, which is the most beautiful part of your bone structure. If you explain things through rather than just going, how does that look? She's going to love it, okay? So make sure you're finishing the hair off and showing her just what you've done, explaining the whole process. Because if somebody's getting to a point where they're paying, say, £200 for a haircut, which a lot of you guys will get to that stage in your careers, your guest doesn't want to know that you've just done a haircut. They want to know what you've done. And you want to basically show off your work and be proud of your work. Okay? So we can see that sits quite nice, quite soft and quite textured. If I give her a little spin, it's got a nice bit of bounce and movement and softness in here. The layering sits across the graduation, which gives all of that support. If I stand behind, it's probably easier to see. Tucks quite high, nice roundness to the shape, and it's styled in quite nicely as well. But then also, you can get in there and give it a bit of a zhuzh and a bit of texture, and it can be quite editorial, so she can have it over the other side, something a little bit more texturized down, and a little bit of movement. Perfect. Hope you will like it. Is there any questions or anything?
So, Robert, looks really nice, really texturized quite quickly as well. Now, how would you texturize if they, they still want that lightness within the hair? Because I keep saying that texturize the same way that you cut. Would you agree with that, or?
Absolutely, yeah, absolutely. That's probably the fundamental of texturizing, which, thanks for bringing that up, actually, it's a cracking question. Basically, texturize exactly the same as you cut. So whether you're using your finish scissors or whether you're I don't agree with those, or just lifting the hair and pointing it, or doing a slicing technique or a deep texturizing technique, absolutely exactly the same sectioning pattern. Change your sectioning pattern up if you want to do something round and triangular, but absolutely. Now, if you were going to come through and start texturizing again, I would work my shape vertically and just point that in, because everything I've been working is vertical. Absolutely. So texturize exactly how you cut the hair, and you won't be taking away any shape or any bounce or anything like that. Okay. Something's in here. 1 second. No, nothing in there. Anyone else got anything? Perfect. Okay, so thank you all. I hope you're all well. I would like to say congratulations to all the guys in Camden. I know it's not the end, not the way we want to end the course, but you've all been amazing. Well done. Congratulations to all you guys. You're going to be fantastic. Do come in and see us. If we don't see you before the end of lockdown, hopefully we will. I'm pretty sure we will. We're trying to set that up so we can all come in, but well done. To all my Chiswick guys, see you soon. Speak to you all today. To the Loughtons, stay on the call. Don't go nowhere. And to Mariana's group in Camden, we'll see you when we get back. Thank you. Take care. See you soon. I'm not going to end, so can you guys leave the chat? and then all of the guys from Loughton stay on. Right? Sweet. Ta-da.